And then the last time on the previous episode, we talked about this particular person who, when I said he broke me, and I actually thought about this and I was like, oh man, if I ever talk to this person, yada, yada. And then it came to a point where I said to you, I think I died, like figuratively. That was like an ego death. And over the course of my life, I would project what I thought people wanted, what I thought people would expect of me.
All right. Well, welcome back to the podcast and for part 2 of Orion Veil. So we talked about that a little bit last time, and I said we were going to get to the whole Orion Veil and Robert Howerton and how does all that fit together. So where we left you was I had asked Robert about this encounter and the person he saw, and then to spell the name, and it was Yeshua, some Polynesian dude, but no, it was Yeshua. Pretty awesome, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up where we left off there, and then I think this is me and Robert here, so who knows where we're going to end up. I think we're going to really dive into the book, but the reason why we did a cliffhanger with talking about Yeshua is because it's so important as Robert explains how the book came to be. So, Robert, welcome back, and let's talk about the book.
Yeah. What questions do you have? Like, you have read it,
I have.
and it is a rather than like I could freestyle, and it's
let's do this.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's do this. So we left our listeners with you talking about Yeshua, and then you and I started having a lot of phone conversations. You were calling me, and again, you alluded to this in part 1, where you start talking about Watchers, and then I said, "Have you read the book of Enoch?" And you're like, "No," and I think that's really taking our listeners in part 2 here is on this journey of you get this inspiration for this book and you're writing it. And as you're telling me, because you would send me chapter 1, hey, read this. Hey, here's chapter 2. And I would read it. I'd be like, Robert, where are you getting these names? You remember those conversations?
I do. I remember quite a bit of those. And it was at a point in time that I didn't know what was real and what was not real. And the pieces, and I actually infused that into the story because it's part of my history. And I know that sounds evasive, but I'll explain that. The part of the history is our grandmother, she got really bad Alzheimer's. And with that, I was, things would happen and she would just kind of start forgetting. And I thought about this deeply. And there's pieces that I understand now about soul contracts. And when we're born, we're taught, like we have no memory, like we're there, we're doing things. And so as we are raised from the conditions of how we were raised. If your parents believed in X, then you naturally believed in X. But occasionally you'll come across a wackadoodle like myself, where if the family believes in X, and like on the previous podcast talking about a black sheep, I was a Y.
Yes.
I was very curious, and I would ask you when we would have these conversations, and it was a why conversation. I was like, Scott, why? I don't know. Yeah. And then every time I would continue to ask you, what is this? What is that? Why? And it eventually came to where, like, son of a gun, I'm asking the questions that I already know, but I didn't trust the answers. And I see that as gnosis. And gnosis in like a Greek word means knowledge. I'm always curious. I'm always trying to figure things out. In the first podcast, I said I'm a doer. And there are things that I've done in my career and things that, talking about the dump with grandpa, where I would pick up something, which just a memory popped into my head, and I'm already going down a rabbit hole. And I'm so sorry.
Hey, let's chase them.
Let's chase them. Exactly. You're wearing a blurry creatures. Let's go down the creature path.
Oh yeah, get the blurry on.
So for those listening, this was back at Scott's house, and we were there, and there was a 10-speed bike that used to be Uncle Lloyd's, and it didn't work worth a darn.
Right.
So I said, hey, let me tinker with it. And then so we went into Grandpa's tools, that he had tools everywhere. And he had tools at that house. He had tools at another. He probably had tools at the neighbor's house. There's just, he had tools everywhere. Well, I'm like, you're like, well, it doesn't stop very, very well. And I'm like, well, let's fix it. And so I said, how do you want to sing the stop, like stop, stop? And then you said, yeah, I want it to stop really sharp. And so I said, all right. Now I tightened it up, and then I said, go as fast as you can and then hit the brakes. And then you're like, I got it. And then, man, you were ripping it. You had it full tilt, and then you slammed on the brakes and you endoed like nobody's business. And I was like, those brakes work great. I didn't really check to see if you were okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I realized I just snorted. That's awesome, because you started telling this story, and I had to flashback of, because it was like, and I had never ridden a bike like that before. Like, we were dirt poor, man. My bike was, you just push backwards on the pedals to stop. I smashed them and right over the front of the handlebars. Oh yeah.
So that is exactly how this story is kind of, it's a compilation of so many things. And then the last time on the previous episode, we talked about this particular person who, when I said he broke me, and I actually thought about this, and I was like, oh man, if I ever talk to this person, yada, yada. And then it came to a point where I said to you, I think I died, but like, figuratively, that was like an ego death. And over the course of my life, I would project what I thought people wanted, what I thought people would expect of me. And it just got so much that when this particular person, who was my boss at the time, where he would say, hey, we need to figure this out. And I was like, oh man, I could figure this out. And then he ended up like, I presented it. I was like, okay, here is my projections, and this is it, and blah, blah, blah. And I'll go fast on this, but I'm like, if we do this, then we're going to see about a 60% increase of our capacity. And he was like, I don't understand that. Like, what is this? And I was like, well, this is an algorithm. Like, where did this come from? I wrote it. And I'm like, I tell you what, let me just deploy it, and then give it 8 days. And then within 8 days, I'll show you the metrics. The data will speak for itself. And then over that, like, no matter what I did positive, no matter what I did for the organization that I felt was right, he would just come at me with just such sinister and malice that I was just like, oh, what is happening to me right now?
Right.
And then that's when I end up, like, I broke. And when I look at that playback now, it no longer carries weight. It no longer carries burden. Like, I have burned that out. And now when I look back, that person, I don't hate him. I actually want to thank him, because I was going down a path that eventually I was going to burn out because I was carrying too much that was not me.
Right.
And so when this book was like, tell your story, what are you talking about? Tell your story. I even came to your house at a fireside chat, and someone said something. I said, I'm a nobody. Like, what? And at the time, I was still in my infancy of my personality rebirth.
Right.
And
Right.
so this book was a healing journey for me. Like there's a lot of hidden truths and there's a lot of stuff that like, man, someone's going to read this and go, wow, I understand Luke.
Yep.
I can relate to Luke. I can relate to Celine. I can relate to Sam, and at the time I was drinking heavily and like people didn't know that I was drinking as much as I was because in the story, I talk about one thing that really, really hurt. And it was my mother passing away because I stayed in the hospital. I was with her. And then she said to me, honey, she couldn't speak. She had to write it because she had a trach, but she was writing it down and she could whisper. But she was like, you stink. And I was like, oh, I love you too. And then she was like, go home. She wrote it on a little grease pen, like, go home, go shower. And then I was like, all right, fine. I was like, I'll be here in the morning. And then I left. And what I did is like, I went to a restaurant that I used to work at called Red Lobster, if anyone's ever been there. And I sat at the bar and had some cocktails. And she died. And it was a part of me that I can release it now, which is context for this podcast.
Yeah.
But I carried that. I carried that burden and that weight for like, I don't know, 2 decades.
Yep.
And how I ended up not thinking about it is alcohol. I would drink it and I would just kind of put myself away. So as you start off in the story, anything that I have done and anything that really carried the biggest hit, and man, like the Bloodline Watchers Awakening, oh my gosh, I have like 100 different versions of it. And I would send it to you and I would send it to your, like the family. And then I would be like, hey, this is version 21. And then within a couple hours, I'm like, okay, this is version 23. Right. And then your mom would be like, oh my gosh, I got to start over. No, your little sister's like, okay, I'm starting over. Like, what a trooper. Like, oh my gosh. And so as she read it, it was a version. And then you're like, I'm not reading this until you get it to where it's like, I got a lot going on. I can't. Yeah. And I understood that. But the version that was out there originally, it was raw and it was grammatically nuts. And I had so many pieces. And what I was doing, Scott, is I was releasing what was in my depths and I was putting it on paper. I was putting it on my computer and I was owning up to my fears. I was owning up to my past. Yeah. And with that released me.
Yeah. And so you said the title of the book. So the Bloodline Watchers, there's three or four books as of right now in the series.
As of right now, there are 2. So the second one will be released on 8/13. It is available for pre-order. The third one, I am writing it now. Right. Writing these books, Scott, it's so fast. It's like they're almost writing themselves. And originally, the first one that I did, it was a monster. Yeah. And I heard, a friend of yours, like when you introduced me, also another author and an editor, and she helped with the editing on the first one, and it was really cool. But she mentioned something on a YouTube, like, "Hey, this is too big. Maybe you might want to break this up." And I'm like, So I already have it. I'm just tweaking it, and so that's why they're coming so fast.
Gotcha. So, couple things. So, Bloodline and Watchers is the title of the books. So we're going to come back to that. There's a couple things that you said that I want to touch on because, and again, I said this the first time, you're using some of the language you use. And this is what I find so interesting. Like for our listeners, this is so, Interesting, because whether or not you believe in Yahweh, Yeshua, Holy Spirit, I told you from the very beginning, this is not a religious podcast. Hopefully it's evident by now. If it's not, then
Hmm.
I don't know what to tell you. Um, but Robert he uses some very similar things. So one of the things he said was soul contracts. I've never heard you say that word, soul contracts. It's the first time I've heard you say soul contracts. I use a different word, very similar though. It's soul ties, right? And so there are these things that attach themselves to us, or people that we encounter, and your souls literally when you engage or whenever you experience something together, it's like a soul tie, right? And
Hmm.
other people's stuff can kind of stick to you, right?
Yeah.
And we don't think about this, right? Like we don't think about a lot of these things. Um, an example: going to a hotel room. I used to travel a lot. I didn't know this at the time. I could go into certain hotel rooms traveling, and it's like something would. I could maybe I get agitated, or I would go into a hotel room and like just sexual temptation was just off the charts, and I just thought it was me, right? It's just something with me. But there are places that can carry spirits. They can carry stuff. Stuff sticks. And these bad dudes, they like to
Hmm.
stick to whatever they can. So I'm
Yeah.
not trying to go too far off the deep end, but the reason why I think this is so important is it's really, really important as you start to become your authentic self. So something, again, you said is you broke. There came this point with your previous boss where you broke and you would go back and thank him for that. Um, you lived a lot of years out of pain, woundedness, brokenness,
Hmm.
regret, and they kept you from being your authentic self. Not this person that is trying to please someone else or trying to prove that you're not a bad person, prove you're a good person. And I hope this is resonating with you, our listeners, because we all deal with this, right? You come into a family, you've got generational curses. You get treated wrong by someone, you have a regret, someone died before you could make amends. There's all these things. And if you just sweep it under the rug, if you don't deal with it, it festers. It's I would say it's at some level it's like a cancer. It slowly erodes and eats away at your authentic self. And so many people will not face it because they're afraid. But all I can tell you is as quick as you can, face this stuff. The freedom that's on the other side is beyond what you could possibly imagine. The fear you have when you finally push through that, yeah, you're gonna have a rough road ahead. Like, Robert, he'll get a little more into this. Um, yeah, I mean, he said I didn't know what was reality, what wasn't. I walked through this with him, and there were some days he'd call me. I'm like, I think my cousin's having a nervous breakdown. I think he's lost grip with reality, right? But so much was happening. You had met Yeshua, you had met an archangel. So much was coming at you, and it's like I feel like being on that journey with you through the phone. You were drinking water from a fire hydrant. Spiritual stuff was happening. Spiritual warfare was happening. You were dealing with pain, hurt, regret, like all this all at once. But you pushed through, and you're an overcomer. And just to 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 see the change in you, it gives me so much hope, because I have seen people give up or refuse to acknowledge the pain of their past out of fear, and you did. And so I hope that is fair to you. I hope it honors what you have just shared with us, because what you went through is not easy. But what you went through has brought a level of freedom in you that I don't think you ever knew you were actually in a place of bondage. Does that make sense?
That's fair. I was at a place about 3 weeks ago, and there was a guy who just moseyed in, and I was at like it was like a place where old timers hang out. There's coffee, there's donuts, call it the VW, whatever you want to call it. But
Why were you
I'm
there?
there.
Are you an old timer now?
I embrace it all. Like, I think when I stopped growing hair, which was about 20 years ago, my wife calls me Old Man Howerton, and so it's funny because I could, if my wife says, honey, I think I want to go to bed early tonight. I shut my laptop down. I'm like, oh, I've been waiting for this. She's like, no, it's 8:30. No, not yet. And so,
yeah. And for you guys, if you just listen online, you really should at least at this point go and watch online because Robert has a beautiful head. I mean, dude, that thing is like perfectly round.
That's right. Not everyone has a good looking head like that.
You got a great looking head.
Thank you. And I didn't know that when it shaved. So when I eventually shaved it, I was at a friend's house and he's like, hey man, let's shave our heads. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. And he shaved mine. I'm like, your turn. He's like, I'm not doing it, dude. No way. You look like a cone head. And I was like, no, I don't. He eventually went to the Marines. They shaved his head anyway. So take that. But where I was sharing, the problem is this really needs to be an hour because we can squirrel chase quickly. I'll be brief.
Yeah.
There was an older gentleman. I don't know what he was, but I'm sitting there and he's just hanging out and no one's talking to him. So I sat down. I'm like, hey man, how you doing? Like, I'm Robert. And he just started talking and I go, can I offer you a beverage? And he was like, sure. I was like, you want a donut? And he's like, no, I'm good. And I was like, there's a restroom right there if you want to go wash yourself up. And he's like, thank you. And then he started just talking. And I was like, what's going on? I was like, what brings you here? And he goes, oh, I just kind of walked in. I'm like, all right. And then he was going through his story. And I said to this guy, his name was John. I said, John, thank you for sharing your story. And you're talking about all the negative. You're here today. There is someone on this planet, maybe 20 feet down the road, that did not wake up today.
Yeah.
You did. Instead of harboring your past, do something.
Yeah.
Be who you are supposed to be. I don't know who that is. Only you can identify that. When you realize who you are and you are a powerful person, but you just got to work on your self-confidence. If that means you got to talk to someone, find your people, find your tribe. When you are around your people, when your tribe, and they can talk to you and care for you for who you are, not what you are, now you've locked in because there are going to be people that you're going to surround yourself. And with that John, I mean, I walked out of there and I hope that he figured it out. I don't think I'll see him ever again, but I don't think that guy came there. I think that was like a divine alignment. Like, he shows up, not one person's talking to him, and I started talking to him, and then eventually some other guys came over and started talking to him, and then he had something. But it's just whenever I lost it all, I got a package. I was out, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then the people that I would hang out with, they disappeared.
Yep.
And then I realized, like, I said this to Keone. I was like, there's a quote from Bob Marley. And she's like, oh, geez, you quote Bob Marley now? And I'm like, well, it just comes to me. And he said once in an interview that when you're at your lowest and your darkest of nights, your real people, the people who care for you for who you are, they will shine like stars. And then you'll know who your people are.
Right.
I'm summarizing, but he said something like, you can Google that. But that to me, I realize now, it's like I've opened myself up to some in the family and that we haven't communicated. I continue. I talk to you. I talk to, my aunt, because I realized the things that I did in the past, the things that I said, the anger that I carried and put towards others, that the things that I said, I'm just like, oh man. So when it comes back to the book, Scott, is like, I laid out everything, every bad memory, everything. And then I started tailoring it down. So anyone who reads the Bloodline Watchers and they come through and they start reading pieces, they're going to read That is not fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I am taking my pain and I'm putting it on the page for everyone to see and
Right.
everyone to read. And you know what? I no longer carry that. So let someone else. And if that helps them,
Right.
because they're fighting their own demons or they're
Mm-hmm.
fighting their own like complications. And that's one thing that's amazing to me. It's like while I'm writing the story and I'm getting all these downloads, I'm just like, ooh. And there's pieces that I don't spell it out, but I'm dancing. And anyone who really pays attention, like the Bloodline Watchers is really like it's 70 years
Mm-hmm.
of trauma.
Yep.
And when I talk about the spiritual world bleeding into, let's call it what it is, that's celestial decay.
Mm-hmm.
It is, we're at the point to where like we can either sit back with our eyes closed and do nothing, or we can rise together as a unified humanity and just live in the moment, learn, love, and just man, just be cool. Why do
Yeah.
we have so much hate? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and so as I'm looking at the clock here,
Already? Man.
I know, right? So a couple of things. Robert said something in part one, and I addressed it briefly, but I want to come back around to it. Because I would encourage you. This isn't like this podcast is not ever meant to hawk someone's goods. Okay. The book, if you want to read it, read it. If you don't. Okay. I would encourage you to, if you like novels, if you like crazy stuff, you're going to love the book. It's really, really good. I'm not saying that because it's Robert. Like he gave me the finished copy. I think I had it read in like 5 days. Couldn't put it down. But in part one, I was asking Robert about, meeting, having this encounter with this guy. And he said, hey, when I did that, I was doing the doobie. All right. So, but hold on here. The reason why I want to go back to that is for you, our listeners, and I'm speaking to you specifically if you come from a religious background. You may have heard that and went, oh, 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 oh. We have to stop doing that, okay? As people who, I'm going to say, unfortunately, have been raised in a religious environment, religion has taught us to be judgmental, critical, closed-minded, and reject anything that is a part of the script that we've been taught to know, all right? So, do I smoke weed? No. Do I condone weed? No. But here's the point. Don't throw out what you're hearing Robert talk about because you're like, oh, well, he was hallucinating whenever he did that. Jesus can show up in any environment. He's shown up in the Middle East. He's showing up all over the world through so many amazing ways. Okay. Don't check out on that because it's no different than prescription medications. Robert, thank you for being vulnerable and transparent on that. A lot of pain, and he was looking for something to numb the pain. And I'm telling you, if you've got something you're hiding from in some way, shape, or form, you're doing something to numb the pain, whether it's food, whether it's gaming, whether it's watching football, whether it's being a control freak. You are trying to manage, you're trying to hide or numb the pain in some way, shape, or form. So let's not be critical or judgmental when we hear something that is kind of like, ooh, that's kind of strange. The other part
Yeah.
is when you read the book, because I did this, he talks about ley lines. You talk about this celestial. The reason why I'm telling you this is from a religious standpoint. If you have been baptized in religion, your first thought is, "Oh my gosh, this is astronomy and psychic. This is New Age. I can't read it." Stop. Okay, stop. If you cannot read a book and maintain your own maturity, then it has nothing to do with the book. Okay. And I'm not saying this to step on any toes out there. What I'm saying is, so many of us who are raised in church and raised in religion, we are so close minded, we miss out on so much. The book is phenomenal. It's a great read. When it starts out, and I told Robert this when I got the first copy, I was like, dude, like the first 2 chapters, I'm like, what are you doing? Are you a spaz or what? Because it's like, you call it neo-scriptural prose. And the way you start writing it, it's like these short little sentences. Like, it's so short. And I'm like, what is going on? Guys, I'm telling you, when you read this book, you are going to step into the way that Robert has been inspired to write this. You're going to step into these characters' lives. You're going to feel this, and it will awaken something in you. And what I'm going to say is, don't run from this. Don't run from this. It is a book. It's going to stimulate probably some memories. It's going to cause you to question some things you've been taught and told, but lean into it.
Yeah. The rhythm is exactly what it is. The neo-scriptural prose is a rhythm. It's a pulse. And I do it in short fragments because you're reading from the point of view of the character. And his mind is constantly boom, 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 boom. And, you bring up a point here to where there's many readers and there's many like followers of, various denomination religions. But do you like Star Wars? Do you read Star Wars? And if Star Wars, if like, you know what? Hey, if you look at Star Wars, that's an evil empire talking about a rebellion. What is happening in scripture? It's a rebellion. So, and then when you look at the Bloodline Watchers, the whole premise is like a divine spark. We're rebelling against this evil, it's like, oh man, from a modern context, it's like, you're going to go across some things in this story, and you'll hear things, and then you'll read something and you're like, huh, and are there fallen watchers in there? Yeah. Spoiler alert. Yeah, there are. Do I know what these fallen watchers names are without reading the book? Yeah, I do. And but that's not my place. That is not my purpose. My purpose is to tell a story that heals myself, and that I'm wrapping this knowledge in a way that's from an entertainment. George Lucas, when he wrote, use the Force. Well, in comparison, is the Force similar to divine spirit? One might think so.
Yeah. No, that's so good. So, darn, we're out of time. So here's what's going to happen. The Bloodline Watchers, The Awakening, phenomenal. So you can get them on Amazon. Just go find it. It's easy to get. Phenomenal book. The second book is going to release on the
8/13,
August 13th, a few short days from now. Second book's there. I'm glad for those of you who are just now hearing about this, you're going to get to read book 1 and then go straight into book 2, because I've been waiting for a while for book 2, and I'm like, So go check it out. And not just because Robert is my brother. He's got so much more. Like, you have no idea. There's so much more, and he's holding back. Part of that is because we discussed that beforehand. But he's going to push you, and he's going to challenge your understanding of certain things. But that's good, because we have to let go of some of the things that we've held on to for so long that we don't understand why. We just follow the script. We got to release those things. And that allows us to unlock the freedom to rise. And that's the point of the podcast, right? Is to bring new ideas, lots of deep questions. Our goal here is to find the freedom that I believe is meant for all of us, to be our authentic selves. And I love what Robert said, to do what Yeshua came to do, which is to teach us how to love. So, Robert, thank you so much.
Of course.
I look forward to having you back again. Listeners, I hope you guys have enjoyed this as much as I have. Robert will be back, I promise. Robert, any parting words?
For those listeners, if I offended you from my childish humor, then there's plenty more where that came from. Thank you, everyone.
If that offended you, then you probably shouldn't listen anymore, because it's only going to get worse.
It will get worse.
All right, guys, thank you so much. We'll see you on the next podcast.